For privately held businesses, having sustainable growth is really an important part of the business. It increases enterprise value. And so all companies should have a growth strategy and plan in order to generate sustainable growth.
What is your plan for growing your business? What does your revenue forecast look like for next year? Do you have a 5-year business plan or sales plan? What's your current backlog and your pipeline, and how does that stack up to the same period next year? These are the type of questions that buyers are going to ask, and frankly, are the most important questions they're going to ask you, and how you answer them or address them are critical to getting a deal to a letter of intent and eventual sale. Hi, my name's kdee, President of Osage Advisors. Welcome back to our podcast, The Ins and Outs of Selling a Business. To help us break this down, these questions today, we're pleased to have with us Joe Grace of Chief Outsiders. Chief Outsiders is a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer and Sales Organization, with offices all over the country that work with businesses of all types to help them implement growth strategies and execute on them. Joe, good morning, and thanks for being with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Keith. Glad to be here.
Great. So as a business owner, you, myself, I think we think about it all the time, 24/7. How am I going to grow my business? Right? What's my competition doing? And, for us as advisors, we're talking to our clients about, tell me about your business and how you're growing it or how I can help you. So from your perspective, from Chief Outsider's perspective, give me a sense of how you approach an engagement, what things you need to know about so you can kind of help a business, put a plan in place so they can grow, whether they're selling or not. Right? Eventually they're going to sell, but how they go about it, how you go about it to help them get to a point where they are in a growth mode and have a great plan in place.
Yeah, great. Thanks. As we all know, for privately held businesses, having sustainable growth is really an important part of the business. It increases enterprise value. And so all companies should have a growth strategy and plan in order to generate sustainable growth. And we started our business almost 15 years ago, and our focus was to provide chief marketing officers as a service to mid-sized companies. Most mid-sized companies don't have a chief marketing officer. Often mid-sized companies have a vice president of sales and marketing, who's really usually a salesperson, and a junior marketing person who creates collateral. But the world has changed dramatically. And because of COVID, it's changed even more. And today, a lot of businesses have to sharpen their pencils and work harder in order to drive growth. And to do that, you need help from somebody who really understands your business from every point of view. At the highest level, that's what marketing is about, helping companies understand their business from every point of view, competition, and everything else that goes along with your business that affects your business. So for a lot of mid-sized companies who don't have a CMO, it can be hard to find one if you want one, and they're also very expensive. So we provide chief marketing officers as a service. It's a very affordable service, and we've worked with over 1,500 companies in the last 15 years to help them come up with growth plans and strategies that accelerate growth, often leading to a sale of the business.
So CMO, like most of our clientele, all of our clientele, our clients are typically, anywhere from $5 to $100 million in sales. They don't have a CMO. They probably not even sure what that means, right? The acronym, it's a chief marketing officer. So, it's critical to have a story, a documented story, evidenced by results, when buyers are looking at your business. We said this before in prior podcasts. The number one reason deals don't get done is that the buyer doesn't understand your sales plan, your growth plan, right? So when you go into an engagement and you get hired, whether sales have been flat, 20 million, 20 million, 20 million, 20 million, 20 million for the last 5 years, or gone from 20 million to 18 million to 60 million to 50, it goes the other way, right? Or you have a company has an idea and a concept of a new product or service they want to implement, but they need help in getting it to market. How do you guys go about that engagement? What are the key factors that you need to know, and how do you implement like a strategy? What is your secret sauce, so to speak, that you guys utilize to help companies grow?
Yeah. So we've actually written a book about it called Growth Gears. And our approach to helping companies grow is to apply growth gears. And it starts with first insights, understanding your business from every point of view. And then based on insights, you can create a real strategy that can make a difference. And then finally, it leads to execution and tactics. But we find that a lot of mid-sized companies are so focused on tactics, day-to-day activity.
Right.
And over time, those tactics can wear out, but many companies are in a rut. They keep repeating the same tactics over and over again. And so businesses go sideways or south. Everyone is so focused on what's going on internally in the business. No one has the time to look out the window over the hill and around the corner to figure out what's going on. So, the world has changed and continues to change. And so companies have to adapt to all of those things. So whether you're selling to consumers or B2B, the world has changed, especially again after COVID. So more and more people are working remotely. It's hard to reach people. A lot of folks don't want to buy in retail. They want to buy online on Amazon or from an e-commerce website. And so you really need, and on top of that, there's competition coming from every angle. So companies need to step back and say, given my products and services, given the competition, given how difficult it is to reach consumers, given current consumer behavior, how do I create a plan, a strategy going forward? So again, most companies these days stuck on tactics. You need to step back and look at your business, develop deep insights, and that informs strategy. And then as CMOs, we can help lead execution. For example, if somebody wants to get into the e-commerce business and they haven't done that before, we can find the right agencies and take the lead in opening up a new sales channel. So a lot of companies in a rut, and that's why you need the help of the CMO, somebody who can really understand your business from every point of view and come up with plans that can really be game changers.
Well, I think you make a really good point here. I mean, the blocking and tackling, right? You have a business owner,
Right.
most of our, they've been working for 10, 20, 30 years, right? And
Right.
a lot of the business owners kind of own that customer relationship, and they may have brought a VP of sales in, or they have a sales team, and go call on these people, go call on these people, go call on these people. They've been doing it for the last 20 years, but some of those people are no longer there anymore. Right?
Right.
You're not going to know, who are you guys? Right? We had a client years ago, great guy. And we ended up selling his business. He was like, around, I think we sold his business. He was close to 80 years old, but he made a decision. He used to walk into an office, a customer he's had for 50 years, and he walk and they look at him and say, "Who are you?" He realized at that point that his time was done,
Exactly.
right? I'm not going to be, a proud person, had a long-term relationship, and said, okay, it's time for me to move on because this is no longer my world, right? As you said, the world has changed. So having the resources available to implement strategies, whether it's new sales channels or new industries or new platforms like you're talking about, how do you get your client to kind of buy into that?
Well, usually when somebody calls us, they do have a growth problem. As you mentioned earlier, growth is slowed down, or maybe it's going the wrong way. And they've tried everything they know how to do to change things and get things pointed in the right direction. So they reach out, start looking for help. And, we've been around for 14 or 15 years. It's pretty easy to find us. So we often get calls from business owners who say, listen, we have a family-owned business. I'm the third generation. Everything was fine, but now we have all of these problems that you just outlined. It's harder and harder for us to set appointments and to meet with people and to close deals. What do I do? And I said, well, we can help. We can help you take a very broad and deep look at the business you're in, again, from every point of view, and come up with a strategy that could be a game changer for you. And that often involves branding and positioning, opening up new sales channels, bringing in new talent, nurturing and helping to bring your current team up to speed on the latest marketing and sales strategies. It can include websites, social media, and content. These are all things that a lot of mid-sized companies are just unfamiliar with, and their current team, who may include a vice president of sales and marketing and a junior person who collates collateral material, they're just not equipped to do any of this. So
when the owner brings you in, right? And
right.
There's challenges in the business.
Yeah.
And, it's usually closed-shell companies, right? So it's been like a unit, right? I mean, they got a unit.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you bring this out, quote unquote, outsider in. And the owner says, hey, I'm bringing someone in to help us build a business. You could get some resistance sometimes from the salespeople, right? I mean, it's natural. It's human, right? Well, is this going to cost me my job? Am I not performing well? Where, the messaging is that you're there to help. I mean, how do you approach that? Because it's usually, you're not looking at a sales organization that's, 100 people deep. You're looking at maybe a VP of sales, maybe a sales manager, 3 or 4 salespeople, and a customer service person, right? That's a typical you're going to see.
Right.
So you're coming in and the owner's like, I know I need to do some things and I can't do it. And I don't feel my team has the expertise to do it. But so they bring you in, it could be a little bit of intimidating to the team.
It could be. So we spent a lot of time and energy trying to build relationships with the current internal team. When we are engaged, we're not career consultants. We're chief marketing officers. We're operators. We built businesses using marketing tactics and strategies that make sense. So we're real operators. So when you hire us, we actually join your management team, and we meet with everyone in the sales and marketing team, and they're involved in this process as we develop insights and discuss what it means and how do we interpret this. We have all sorts of exercises we go through to bring the sales and marketing team up to speed on what we're seeing and what makes sense going forward. So we really build strong relationships with the internal team and stress that we're here to provide a solution for the entire company and the entire sales and marketing team to succeed. Mm-hmm. And so building those relationships and working shoulder to shoulder with the sales and marketing team is really critical.
So you become part of the company's fabric, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So you guys have done 1,500 plus or minus engagements. I think I looked at your website last night. We have 30 or 40, partners and associates, consultants all over the country. Maybe more. If you were to boil down to like 3 or 4 of the biggest challenges your customers face when they're trying to put in a growth strategy in, can you give us a couple examples of what? Because these are questions that, visibility as to the future opportunity or growth of your business is going to drive value, right? And and so some people just, like you said, there's 3 or 4 challenges, a couple challenges you're going to share with us, things that you see that need to be, that you're critical to success, that are kind of like common among all the clients that you work with.
Right.
I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah. And so you can put it at a high level, into a couple of buckets. So on the consumer product side of things, you've got a company who's selling products and historically has sold and distributed products, let's say through retail, through big box retail or drugstores. And the retail environment is getting more and more challenging. Retailers are extracting a pound of flesh, make it very difficult. They pay slow. There are all sorts of additional fees. If things aren't selling, they shut you down and return products. So folks at retail are under a lot of pressure selling products to retail. So for those folks, they need help trying to build stronger brands so that products sell through in retail, and they need some help creating new marketing tactics and strategies and ad campaigns to support retail. On top of that, as a defensive move, they may start selling products direct through their own e-commerce websites or through Amazon. And they have no experience with any of that. It's not a trivial exercise to build an e-commerce website and to generate traffic and new customers. So most companies need help. And one of the traps people fall into, again, it's because it's tactics. If you want a retail support campaign or you're building a new website, you hire an agency to help you with it. Nobody knows how to qualify, hire, and manage an agency. And so those things go sideways. They produce disappointing results. So if you're in that position, you need to have a senior marketing person who knows how to create ad campaigns to support retail, who knows how to build e-commerce websites and drive traffic. Sorry about that. They keep calling me. And getting on Amazon and making it successful is not trivial. You have to been there and done that. So on the B2C side, lots of companies need help across the board. On the B2B side, companies are selling products and services or software directly to businesses. As you mentioned earlier, it's harder and harder to get the attention of the folks you want to talk to. It's hard to set appointments. It's hard to meet people and talk about your product and service. So that's where marketing comes in. Lead generation campaigns, often creating a lot of content that people are searching for, getting them to consume your content, maybe register for something. Then you can drip on them with outbound communications, email and text messages, and eventually set an appointment for your sales team. So in both those cases, B2C and B2B, there's more heavy lifting that has to be done on the marketing side in order to set up new sales channels and sales opportunities.
Yeah, your point's well taken on both ends. A couple of examples. One is you hire an agency to go help you, right? But someone has to manage that agency. Yeah. You can't just expect them to go out and, come up with the secret sauce. You have to, they need information from you. They need to know what your directives are, what your end goal is with the customer relationship, with new sales. And then someone's got to manage that to make sure they're doing it correctly in line with what your expectations are. I mean, I think we're all at fault, including me in my business. You hire someone to do something and you realize that you need to be heavily involved in that process to make it successful. And if you're not, it's not going to be successful or only partially successful. So having someone like yourself, a chief marketing officer or such, that is overseeing that function is critical. Business owners make investments everywhere, and make an investment in that marketing process. So someone has got to oversee it, because otherwise an execution of that is not going to happen. And on the B2B side, getting to somebody today is excruciatingly painful. I mean, people are busy. They're maybe working remotely. They're not at the office. You send them a letter, right? It goes to the office. They don't come in the office, right? So the letter gets to the office and maybe it gets forwarded, or when they come in the office once a week. So it may sit there for 2 weeks if you miss them for a time. When they get in, they got a stack about, this deep, and it's like they may not respond to it. And then, of course, as you know, I think with cybersecurity issues today, everybody's got filters going on. So trying to get through email is challenging. Mm-hmm. So alternative strategies to get to the customer or potential customer are critical. And having someone like yourself that's managing that process. I mean, we go through every day in our business as well, is how do we get better interaction with our customer base or potential client base? And that's through, various other avenues. So that old time when you pick up the phone and make direct calls and you keep on calling and calling and calling, doesn't work anymore, right?
That's right.
Unless you get their cell phone, and frankly, you don't really call someone's cell phone unless they give you permission to call their cell phone. If they have it on their tagline or their email, signature, then that's fine. But it's hard to get to people. So it's interesting how you approach it. And, if you were to give a takeaway to today about, growth, it's all about growth. I mean,
Right.
one or two things that you would say to someone that says hesitant about why do I need to hire you, right? Chief Outsiders. How
Right.
would you respond to that?
Yeah. Well, the simple answer is, if you're not growing and you want to grow and you keep repeating the same activities that aren't producing results, you need some help. And so in most cases, you need additional marketing help. And so companies have choices. You can go out and try to hire a CMO or a vice president of marketing, often hard to find, especially, let's say, your mid-sized company outside of a metropolitan area. Finding a really seasoned, experienced CMO, maybe in a big market, and getting them to move it is hard. CMOs are expensive. A vice president of marketing CMO would want an employment contract, at least 3 years, a big base, bonuses, equity. And if it doesn't work out, it gets even more expensive if you have to fire the person. There's severance. So, we say, why hire a vice president of marketing or a CMO when you can rent one and
Right.
we can hit the ground running in a matter of days? So what owners of businesses have to realize is if the business is going sideways, it really is usually a marketing problem. It's you're stuck in a rut. You're focused on tactics, and you need to upgrade what you're doing and be smarter about what you're doing. So you need some fresh blood. And in our case, with over 100 CMOs in our bench, we've got people with 20 to 30 years experience of senior marketing experience. We can parachute in and very efficiently take a look at your business from every point of view and come up with a strategy that's really going to make a difference. So
Okay.
that's the basic story.
So you got a mid-sized company, and a traditional senior management team, C-suite, was, CEO, CFO, COO, maybe a CIO, chief information officer. And now
Right.
you got to put another little open spot to fill and call the CMO. If you're really going to be
Right.
in a position of be competitive, again, in this marketplace, and to grow your business against your competition, having somebody fill that slot, investing in that slot to help you build your business. As you said, the same old thing doesn't work anymore. You got to look outside the box. How am I going to grow my business? And it comes back to the first question I asked when we started. How do I grow my business? And how you answer that question is critical. So Joe, this has been great. I'd love to have you come back and maybe talk about a few case studies and how you actually got in there and came through. And if that's worked for you, we'll have you back for another episode. We can get really granular about how you guys got into a situation, but new client to help them build their business either back up or for future. So if that works for you, we'll have you back again.
Yeah, I'd love to. My pleasure. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody. As a reminder, my name is Keith D. I'm president of Osage Advisors. Osage Advisors is a investment bank working with business owners and their families looking to sell. For more information on our company, you can visit us at osageadvisors.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, you can view us on our YouTube channel at The Ins and Outs of Selling a Business. You can subscribe to it if you'd like. Any questions, feel free to call me at 860-767-3273, extension 1001, or shoot me an email at kdee@osageadvisors.com. Thanks again for being with us, and have a great day.